Good night, and welcome to Mindful Life 527. We're at right now. I believe I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for joining me. It is currently 9:21 on the 15th of September in the year of our Lord 2025. Lovely year to be alive. I see Nepal had a revolution, a Gen Z revolution. Lots of them youths took it to the streets. Well, mainly the young men, if you're being honest. Gen Z young men toppled the pro-communist government out there in Nepal. Now they have a woman prime minister that was elected, I believe, from Discord. All for TikTok, Jammy, not all for TikTok. TikTok was the catalyst. I mean, the young people aren't very revolutionary minded just so they need a catalyst. So the catalyst was a ban on TikTok. And when you go to ban TikTok, they stop and they raise their head up from TikTok and realize, wait, this country is actually very unfair. Like, beside the whole TikTok bacchanal, this is a very unfair place. So, revolution. And people died, as goes on in revolutions. I believe there was some kind of horrific acts that happened on the in-between inside there. So, careful anytime you're looking for revolutions. They aren't exactly very smooth affairs. And oftentimes the result doesn't turn out better. So we'd see for Nepal. We would see for Nepal how that turns out for them. Who was it? Someone of those northern European countries also recently just appointed a minister that is AI. An AI minister. Yikes. Like, yikes. Even though I understand how it's possible, because a lot of the duties of a minister could be done by an AI, an AI that we have these days are large language models. They aren't exactly artificial intelligence in and of itself, but and the AI models we have these days could do a lot of ministerial portfolios, because what they are very good at is processing large amounts of information and giving you a best fitted answer based on the information that is already programmed into the AI. It was very interesting to see, but can AI be corrupted? 100% it can be corrupted. I was looking over the weekend at the very tragic murder and assassination that happened in the US, and the news, the up and down of the news that was occurring through it. And I'm an ex-user, a Twitter user, and I was looking at the XAI Grok, attempting to have headlines, because their AI controls a lot of the news headlines you see on the page. And based on the information the AI is taking in, as in what the users are typing, you could actually have an influence on what the AI regurgitates. Similarly, whatever information is put into the AI has an effect on what is put out. We need that AI minister that awarding contracts, yes, and I believe that's what they're using the minister for. What they call that? Procurement, right? The minister of procurement, if I remember correctly. So yes, AI can be corrupted, and part of the problem with corrupting AI is that a large section of the population would be of the belief that it is uncorruptible. So whatever information comes out, even if it is corrupt, could be seen and laundered as being uncorruptible. This has to be true because the AI said it, but that's not really how it goes. There are a lot of instances of the AI getting things wrong, and in fact, some AI you may accuse them of what you might consider lying, as in purposefully getting some things wrong. So yes, it 100% could be corrupted. It's not uncorruptible. Let's get into some of our local news. Venezuelans nabbed on beach. 14 Venezuelans nabbed on beach. A total of 19 Venezuelan nationals and one Trinidadian man were arrested in two separate anti-crime operations conducted by the Southwestern Division on Saturday. The Venezuelan nationals are believed to be in the country illegally. Now, something that I find interesting with this story is this story highlights a fact. This story highlights a fact that obviously, the United States military, the Navy out there on our coast, they are obviously allowing some people pass. Boats are obviously passing them. They are not stopping all the boats. They are not blowing up all the boats. That seems to be pretty obvious by this piece of news. The Almighty grants us leaders after our own heart. I might actually agree to that to some extent because, I mean, we do vote for our leaders. 100% on the collecting payment for the past. Well, Sydney PC, I don't know about that. I don't know about that piece that you're saying. I have no information on such. And I don't know if illegal migrants on a pirogue have the kind of capital required to pay off a US warship. I wasn't even mentioning socialism again, you know, Treasure, so I don't know what you're talking about there. I wasn't throwing anything at you. I have many thoughts and I shared a lot of them last week, sir. A lot of them last week. Yeah, I don't think mini pirogue has the pull to pay off the US military. I just doubt it. They are not in our waters between TNT and Venezuela. Kamala not letting them in our waters yet. I know they are not in our waters, but they are well able to strike if they were so interested. I am certain that they can see all of those vessels. I am certain they can see all of those vessels. They don't need to be in our waters to do anything. Pro-Venezuela Facebook users take aim at Trinidad. Threats, trash talk, and nationalism. An on-the-ground conflict between the United States and Venezuela in the southern Caribbean Sea has not yet happened. But on social media, pro-Venezuelan users have already warned of a Trinidad and Tobago without water, electricity, and agriculture. According to some users whose comments populate the pro-government pages reporting on escalating tensions over the past few weeks, in the event of a conflict with Venezuela, the twin island could lose its power plants, its airports, and perhaps even its independence. Most of the comments appear to be in reference to statements made by Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessor, her welcoming of the U.S. naval buildup to combat drug trafficking, and her support of a lethal strike which killed 11 alleged drug traffickers departing from the country. A page that refers to itself as Pro-Essequibo has been reposting the government's responses for weeks, and its comment box has become a stage for a kind of online nationalism. In one post, a man wrote, "Let that alcoholic pray to God and all his saints that the US never uses the territory of Trinidad and Tobago to attack Venezuela, because they will be without electricity and water in less than 2 days, and bombs are going to drop anyway." Treasure, what are you talking about? Like, who are you talking to? Who is the... You said you don't want to argue that and you don't want to discuss. I've been gone past that. I don't know what you're talking about, Treasure. Yeah. Bombs going to drop anyway. Like, calm down, people. Calm down, please. All of this bomb talk not necessary. I don't think all of this bomb talk necessary. However, I think the United States might like nothing better than for Venezuela to attack Trinidad and Tobago. And you see, that's the kind of unfortunate position you put yourself in sometimes when you dive into geopolitics, being the proverbial cockroach in the fowl party. If Venezuela attacks Trinidad and Tobago, the United States would smile ear to ear. The thing is, for me, I don't take much consolation in Venezuela being turned to rubble if we are being hit too. Like, there's no positive in that for me. Grand, you got your casus belli, you were able to do what you wanted to do, but then what's Trinidad's portion? The languages part, online trash talk part, echo of Justice Minister Diosdado Cabello's barbed statements on state television earlier this month. Speaking on Venezuelan television in the aftermath of the PM's statements, Cabello made reference to a drunk woman governing Trinidad and a stupid crook in the Dominican Republic, and his sentiments seem to trickle down into the comment threads. Alcohol makes that lady talk about guns, one person wrote. They say the lady is a drunk. Maybe she was under the influence, another wrote. Some comments veered towards claiming Trinidad was once part of Venezuela's territory. The funny thing is that the Trinitarians forget that they were part of Venezuela, one person wrote. Like, listen, I ain't fighting for no rubber talk. It would be very dumb of Maduro to jump out. He is wanted bounty, and I said, of course. But if, like in the case of Guyana, where Venezuela wants to claim a third of their country as their own, maybe if I was a Guyanese, you could get me to battle for that. Because that's a different kind of claim. Like this kind of claim they're trying to slip in there about Trinidad actually being Venezuela. That's one I'm not too keen on. Like, relax with that one. I understand you talk your alcohol and drunk talk. I am sure Tanti has heard it before. She knows what people say about her. Do you think I'm not jumping out? But of course, I have said this many times. Tanti needs to take a chill. I think our position needs to be one of not on the forefront. That doesn't make sense for us. I saw you, Sean Khan. It doesn't make sense for us to attempt to be on the forefront of a conflict like this. It doesn't make sense. Now, I am not saying to do like some of these, there's a regional assembly denounces U.S. raid on tuna boat because the U.S. raided a tuna boat. The Assembly of the Caribbean People, who counts political leader of the Movement for Social Justice, David Abdullah, among its regional executive committee, has denounced the raid by U.S. military officials on the Venezuelan registered tuna boat, the Carmen Rose. In a release, the Assembly said 9 Venezuelan nationals were carrying out their professional activities in completely peaceful conditions when they were assaulted and hijacked by the U.S. destroyer USS Jason Dunham in violation of international law. We, the Regional Executive Committee, strongly denounce and condemn this outrage and express our rejection and indignation at the maneuvers of the United States government, which seek to militarize Caribbean waters to destroy the sovereignty of the peoples of our region and plunder our resources, the release said. Like, I'm not saying to say this. I am not saying to say this. Because I think this is nonsense on the other side. Pretending like you're going to be the resistance against the US, I think is also a foolish thing. I think this is the only way to tackle crime in Trinidad. I disagree. 100% disagree. I do not think crime in Trinidad is as a result of pirogues coming from Venezuela. for this government to be getting on. So I believe they had some private meetings with Trump. No, I don't think they have met the man. I'm certainly sure they had meetings with his administration, but I don't think they actually met the man himself. I think Trump could fight his own battles and Kamala needs to stay quiet. I mostly agree with that. I mostly agree with that. And as I said, I don't think this is what solves the crime issue in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't doubt that it would have a positive effect. It would have a positive effect on the crime in Trinidad. Drugs fueling crime, no? Yes, it is. But all of our drugs don't come in pirogues off of the Gulf. That's just not true. Otherwise, the boats out there would have dried up all the blocks in Trinidad. I don't know where you live in Trinidad, but the blocks around these parts are not dry. The coke addicts are still coking. The ganja men still get their ganja. So there really is no proof that this is doing what they say it's doing. Yeah, there's no proof of that. So I don't know how you'll get that. Yet, how many drugs do you think are there? The US has been blockading Venezuela over a week. Do you think that all the drugs that it have been selling for the past week is just what they had in storage? Like, what? It's also grown here. It's also grown in Grenada. It's also grown in St. Vincent. It also comes across from Colombia. It also comes in through our legal ports where they damaged the scanner, and the man driving the forklift drove into the scanner and damaged it. Whoops! And they can't fix it for years now. Yes, that is the truth of the excuse they use. So what you talking about pirogues from Venezuela? Those guys are getting things from containers. A whole container. Or you all forgot a couple years ago, quite a few years ago, when the chicken and the weed came in. And the businessman said, the chicken is mine, I don't know who owned the grass is. Gave him his chicken and that was that. Like, was that a pirogue? Listen. I am 100% certain some drugs come over from Venezuela into Trinidad and Tobago. And I don't doubt, Sydney PC, that there would be a decrease. I don't doubt that. And I don't doubt that there would be a positive effect, even possibly, on the general crime situation. Possible. But not necessarily. Because the nature of drugs is, okay, if the white lady was coming in from there, but all of the customers of the white lady still want it, they will get it from elsewhere. And the problem here, as I said, what will solve the crime situation here? The problem here isn't that we don't know how to stop boats. The problem here is that our protective services are corrupt. So, yeah, you stop the pirogues so some of the coast guards lose some of their bribe money. But now Port Authority get back a little more bribe money and customs get even more bribe money. Like, if we don't know how this place has been running for a long time now. Yeah, and I did not say that, oh, the first boat Trump had blown up was coming to Carenage. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. Like, people were saying the boat wasn't a drug boat and all that. I don't have much doubts there. I have no reason to say that that wasn't a drug boat and it didn't have drugs in it. And it may not have been very well heading towards Trinidad and Tobago. I believe the US Secretary of State name dropped Trinidad and Tobago as a possible destination of the boat. I don't know. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. But again, that's not why there's crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Venezuelan illegal pirogues with 450 engines are not the cause of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Don't have to be one or the other only. It's not about one or the other only. I know that's one of them. I know that's one of them. But I'm saying that's not the limiting factor. It's like if somebody is fat, obese, overweight, and on a given day, they eat KFC doubles, drink 3 rituals, go down on some snacks, eat a cheesecake, and as a nightcap, they still order a pizza. If somebody comes and stops them from eating doubles, that's not going to stop them from being obese. Like, yes, the doubles wasn't helping. But if the person is greedy and willing to eat, they will buy an extra piece of chicken from KFC and it's none the different. It will be none the different. So I don't have a problem with them stopping the drugs either. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. That's not where I'm coming from either. I'm just saying I don't see this as being some real remedy to crime in Trinidad and Tobago. A remedy to crime in Trinidad and Tobago is sorting out our protective services. Our protective services have to be at least 75% less corrupt. If we want a low crime Trinidad, I'm telling you, that is the issue in Trinidad and Tobago. We have a corrupt protective service. Bottom line. Or I went into a police station not too long ago, not for any negative issue. I can't even remember what I went in for. And I was looking on the wall there, and they have a massive map of the region. And in the massive map of the region, they have all the hotspots marked. Listen, they know where all the blocks are. Of course, they know where the blocks are because they pass and make their pickups. What are your thoughts on the direction the country is heading? What do you mean by that? You have to get a little more specific. What do you mean? I don't like the mass firings by the government. I don't like that direction that we are headed in. I do like the direction we're headed in terms of the attempts to free up the forex market, and also speaking of liberating the used car industry also. I like those directions. I like some of the business talk that is coming through. I do hope that they can find some solutions to the forex issues. Now, I have a feeling that a lot of the forex issues are much more intractable than the present government would like us to believe, that they aren't as easily solved as the government may suggest. I don't think so. But I do hope they work. How would you reform the CPEP and URP? Listen, CPEP and URP was not necessarily a bad idea. The problem is the people. And I am not 100% certain how you reform the people. Because the idea of URP is we give you some work for the first couple hours of the day, so you get some employment to make some money to live. But then the rest of the day, you could go and try to figure out how to get a job on your own. Because this is only supposed to be for a fortnight. 10 days being 2 5-day periods, 2 weeks, a fortnight. You get a fortnight and then you go get a job. But then, when you give government control of that, it's politicians at the end of the day. So I see this present administration saying this is the end of political patronage in these things. I would like to see it. But what happens when these things start back falling out? Are they going to just pick randomly from all of Trinidad and Tobago? Or are they going to pick from the party group names that was sent up to them by the regional corporation members? What do you do? And then as a politician, if you don't reward your party faithful, they're not going to like you come election time. So what are they going to do? Is that actually what they're going to do? CPEP, the idea of CPEP being the control of the grass and beautification and all of that kind of stuff, you get smaller level contractors. So the small man, now you provide him a business opportunity. He can form a small contracting firm, and they get contracts from the government to maintain the grass around the place. That's a good idea. Increase the entrepreneurial spirit in the Waka man. But here's the problem. They don't end up with the regular Waka man. They end up with some government associate opening a bunch of mini contracting companies and getting all of those contracts. And then the Waka men still have to go and work for the government associate and still make his normal small money. He cannot elevate himself into the entrepreneurial plane. No, he can't do that because unfortunately the government is there. So the ideas aren't necessarily bad ideas in and of themselves, but they were still corrupted. I am not sure how you work a good idea into there like that, how you force a good idea into that. I'm not 100% certain how you do that. Of blaming each other for years while doing nothing to actually better the country. Do you believe that either of the two major governing parties will actually put aside pettiness of blaming each other for years while doing nothing to actually better the country? I will not say that neither party has done anything to better the country. That is just not true. Both parties have done things that better the country. However, the nature of partisan politics is no. They're not going to put aside what you're considering that pettiness of blaming each other, because that's how they win elections. If the UNC were not able to get enough people to believe that the PNM was to blame for the negatives that were happening, then the UNC wouldn't have been able to get into power now. If the PNM now cannot get enough people to believe that the UNC is to blame for whatever negatives befall us in the next 5 years, then the PNM wouldn't be able to get into power. It's the nature of the politics. It's the nature of the political game. That's what they do. Once you're dealing with government contracts and all fiduciary requirements, it disqualifies the small man. It's not supposed to. That wasn't the idea of CPEP. The idea of CPEP was to welcome the small man. But unfortunately. So is anyone going to make jail for CPEP or URP, or did PNM cover their corruption? Why are those the options Why can't one of the options be that maybe there wasn't corruption? I saw a lawyer speaking about that, or heard a lawyer speaking about that today also, that it's very strange to accuse an entire workforce of corruption, fire all of them, provide no proof of the actual corruption, and have no one that you have actually charged for corruption. So how can you fire me for corruption that you never proved existed and that you're not prosecuting anyone for? Good night, Nisi. I was here around 9, just so you know. I don't know if you all knew though, Trump says the US military again targeted a boat allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela. President Donald Trump said the US military again targeted a boat allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela, killing 3 aboard the vessel. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists, this is Donald speaking here. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, in brackets, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans headed to the US, Trump said in a Truth Social post announcing the strike. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to US national security, foreign policy, and vital US interests. Trump said the strike was carried out Monday, 2 weeks after another military strike on what the Trump administration says was a drug-carrying speedboat from Venezuela that killed 11. Keywords again: international waters. What are those keywords for? What's the purpose of those keywords for? Why are they keywords? So are we getting laws to stop PNM and UNC ministers and friends from directly benefiting themselves? How would you write such a law, How would you write such a law? How are you going to write a law that a government minister, his family cannot make money while he is in government. How are you going to frame a law like that? That no member of a minister's family can apply for any state contract once they are members in the ruling government? Do you think that would be a good law? Speaking to Fox News earlier Monday, Rubio reiterated that the U.S. doesn't see Maduro as the rightful leader of Venezuela, but as head of a drug cartel. We're not going to have a cartel, operating or masquerading as a government operating in our hemisphere, Rubio said, following the first military strike on a boat allegedly carrying drugs. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, Shazam! AP and others have reported that the boat had turned around and was heading back to shore when it was struck, but Rubio on Monday said he didn't know if that's accurate. What needs to start happening is some of these boats need to get blown up, Rubio said. We can't live in a world where all of a sudden they do a U-turn and so we can't touch them anymore. I believe it is used to not take any blame for an attack. Well, according to some people, they're still breaking international law. As I said though, international law is a joke because laws only function if there's law enforcement. And who is the international law enforcer? So international laws are a joke. They're pointless really and truly. I think we should stop even talking about them. Like, forget about that. Don't talk about them. They're not making any sense at this point. Like talk about what you view is right and wrong, but leave international law out of it because it's not a sensible thing, really and truly. No sense. Yay! Did you all see Uncle Jack looks like he's gonna get a free? He's getting that get out of extradition free card. You all saw that? And I mean, they're talking about legal technicalities with it, but I think you'd struggle to find many Trinidadians who would wholesale believe that, and who would believe that the dropping of his extradition has nothing to do with his favorability in the current administration. I think you'd be hard pressed to get Trinidadians who believe that. Legal opinion raises doubts over Jack Warner's extradition case. A confidential legal opinion sent to the Attorney General raised doubts over the decade-old extradition case against former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner. Someone with Jack years in power must have blackmail files, and everyone says you over on TikTok. I don't necessarily doubt that. But it's a legal technicality. Do you think Trump will strike Venezuela mainland? I don't know. I think if he thinks that he will get away with it, he will. If he thinks there's a window that they can use to actually effect whatever his plan is, I think he will, yes. And personally, I think if the US strikes Venezuela mainland, Venezuela will do nothing in return. That's my personal feeling. I think they'll do nothing in return if that happens. The legal opinion on Mr. Warner also suggests that he may be due for some compensation also. Imagine that, good night, Krima. Imagine that Mr. Warner, who may have once been facing jail in a foreign country, may very likely, long time here, man, may very likely now be looking at compensation and freedom. and it from all accounts, it seems to basically be based on legal technicality. An official form that was supposed to be sent and received from the US to Trinidad and Tobago, stipulating his special prosecution, as it were, only saying that they're only going to prosecute him on X issues, that wasn't presented in time, or wasn't presented at all. So, case seems like it may fall apart. Yes, they are in power, Krimak. They are in power. Let's look at this citizenship bill that is being moved through our parliament. Opposition. Citizenship bill seriously flawed. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles, in a lengthy social media post on September 13th, outlined why she and the party could not and did not support government's grandparent citizen law. One of its major reasons for voting against in the House last Friday was that this could have serious consequences for voting in the future. She said this should be of concern to all citizens. While people who attain citizenship without having parents or grandparents born in Titi will not be eligible to represent the nation in international sports, they will have all the other rights of citizens, including free schooling, healthcare, and most importantly, the right to vote, she said. She added that once those people became citizens, they needed only to live in an electoral district for 2 months before the qualifying date for general elections to be placed on the electoral list. So people with grandparents that weren't born in Trinidad would be able to access Trinidad citizenship. The sports ministry, the government through the sports ministry, is suggesting that a main purpose of this would be for example, athletes who are outside of Trinidad, who may not be citizens of Trinidad and would like to play for Trinidad and Tobago. This should allow them to be able to do that. But the point that the opposition was making in counter to this is that many international sports don't check necessarily citizenship as a country gives it. They do their own checks on ancestry. Because most international sports are very well aware that some countries will do shady things on citizenship to get players to play for them. So sport competitions and sport organizations don't just check your citizenship. So if you are not qualified because your grandparent wasn't born here, then changing the law isn't going to change that qualification in the sport. What it is going to change is the qualification for voting. And that's the worry according to our opposition leader. The worry is, can this be used for voter padding? Can this be used for importing voters? Can it? Can it? I saw the Forex, one of the Forex banks, the Exim Bank, released or leaked, or however you'd call it, the data they have on the biggest takers of Forex. Pharmaceuticals. We're a drugged up country. Lots of pharmaceuticals. And then, as an economist said, that was kind of predictable. And these are the reasons why I think the Forex problem that our Prime Minister is trying to highlight that she wants to change, I'm not sure if they are going to succeed at it. I'm not sure if they're going to succeed at it because I'm not sure if those are problems that they are able to solve like that. Are you going to decrease the amount of drugs you allow the drug companies to import? Are you going to decrease the amount of grocery items you allow the price marts and the massy stores to import? Because they are the major users. Are you? I feel like they won't, personally. I feel like they won't. Alright, people, it was an early one. I'm taking an early night tonight too. Thank you for joining in. This has been the Mindful Life. I am Nathan Springer. I'll see you again for the next one tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. Let's see if we can dive into that news again. Until then, people, hold it down, stay good, stay inside, outside, little sketchy. Peace. I'm out. Bye.